So I was not meant to be making this video today. I was meant to make this video about 2 months ago, but I have been busy, I've been tired, and I've been really overwhelmed because having a baby is hard. And it doesn't matter how much joy you get or how rewarding it is or how much you just love your little bundle. It doesn't take away from the challenging nature of being a parent. But that's kind of the point of this video. I don't want to keep pressing pause on my goals and my desire to live a values-aligned life because I have a baby. It's not going to be easy, and it's certainly not going to be an aesthetic documentation of my journey. I'm probably going to be barefaced, sporting my famous mum bun most of the time. But what my journey looks like is not the important thing. The important thing, as cliche as it sounds, is starting. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel, and thank you so much for being here once again. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mel and this is my YouTube channel where I'm documenting my health journey with a specific focus on weight loss in the hopes that it will help other people out there on similar journeys. That's hard to say in one breath. So I uploaded a very short video to YouTube a few weeks ago announcing the next chapter of my health and weight loss journey, which is just casually getting into the best shape of my life. But before I get stuck into that, let's quickly rehash the main parts of this journey so far for the sake of context and just a little refresh. I will also link the most relevant videos below that cover all this in more detail because this is just going to be the abridged version. Basically, I've struggled with weight my whole life, even as a kid. I've attempted every diet and exercise regime you can imagine, and my weight has fluctuated a lot. Some weight loss attempts were successful, but they never lasted. And then I reached my heaviest weight ever in July of 2021 and stayed that weight until February 2023, which is when I had a bit of a shit, I need to get on top of this mess moment. And I did. I lost 10 kilos and the video on how I did that will be linked below. And then by mid 2023, I was down 15 kilos from my heaviest weight and I was starting to feel pretty good. But then it all came to an abrupt halt, which at the time I assumed was because of my lack of routine and schedule. But fast forward to April 2024, and it turns out the reason I felt so crappy all the time and the reason I couldn't lose weight no matter what I did was because I had an autoimmune disease affecting my thyroid called Hashimoto's, which was quite confronting because at the time of diagnosis, I was in the early months of pregnancy and was quite anxious about my health and pregnancy, which I've done a separate video on. But I was also kind of relieved because I finally had an answer to why I felt so average and why I couldn't lose weight. Then my Hashimoto's disappeared, which can happen in pregnancy for some people who have autoimmune disorders. But it could have also been the work we did to support my thyroid and gut with supplementation. So we didn't know. And that's basically where my YouTube documentation of my health journey went up to until now. So what's happened since then? Well, firstly, my pregnancy, the rest of my pregnancy went really well, and I actually ended up losing weight because my thyroid was working again. I was far less anxious, my bloating disappeared, I had heaps of energy, and honestly, overall, I was really lucky to have a very positive pregnancy experience. My birth plan didn't go to plan, surprise, surprise, and I ended up having an emergency C-section. But that was also a pretty positive experience given the circumstances. But then came postpartum, or the 4th trimester. And honestly, that made pregnancy and giving birth feel like the easy bit. And that's not even factoring in the breastfeeding, which I was told would be hard, but I have since learned that there is a special category of hard that is unlocked when you're struggling to breastfeed your baby. Anyway, about 2 weeks after birth, my C-section scar got infected, and it was infected with a bacteria that my obstetrician had never heard of in a C-section scar before, nor had any of her colleagues. So that was fun. And I also got mastitis at the same time. So I was on a whole host of antibiotics. And this was in addition to really struggling to breastfeed my baby. Sleep deprivation to a level that I honestly did not know existed. My hormones were going absolutely wild, and I was also recovering from surgery that I had not planned on having. Oh, and trying to keep a tiny human alive with absolutely no idea what we were doing, which I'm sure many of you can relate to as well. So what does this have to do with me getting fit and losing weight? Well, little naive me had a grand plan of being the absolute best version of myself and getting into the best shape of my life. basically as soon as I gave birth. I wanted to start exercising as soon as physically possible. I wanted to ingest only foods that would help me heal. And I wanted to go to all the mums and bubs Pilates classes. And I basically just wanted to transform myself and my entire life immediately after birth. And look, do I have a tendency to set some pretty far-fetched, unachievable goals sometimes? Sure. But this was some of my best work. I don't know what I was thinking. Oh, we've got a runaway. The mum bun has failed me. I'll just clip him back in. The show must go on. And maybe for some people out there, that's a really achievable thing to do. But for me, no. I very quickly learned that postpartum life, at least for me, would be about survival, at least initially, to get through each day and just keep my baby fed, clean, and safe. That was it. If I was also fed and clean, then it was a bonus. I didn't exercise. I barely got out of the house. I completely lost my appetite for about 2 weeks. And when it did finally come back, I just ate foods that I could quickly scoff down or eat with one hand. Thank goodness for our beautiful family and friends who delivered us food and came to stay with us and help out, because when it was just the two of us, 3 of us, we were just surviving. So what I'm saying is this is not my first attempt at a postpartum health transformation, but it is my first appropriately timed and realistic attempt. So here we are, 8 months postpartum, ready to take control and get back on track. And I've decided to really take it up a notch and attempt to get into the best shape of my life with my 8-month-old Theo in tow. And obviously now we are well and truly clear of the crazy newborn stage, thank goodness. But things are still far from perfect. My time is not my own. Schedule and routine are nearly impossible for us at the moment. Theo doesn't really like to sleep, which is fun. And my postpartum experience, while a lot of it has been amazing, a lot of it has also been absolutely brutal to my body and my mind. My fitness is basically non-existent. I feel achy and stiff most of the time. I'm still chronically sleep deprived, and I'm really struggling to eat as healthily as I used to. And my blood tests at 6 months postpartum confirmed that the Hashimoto's has returned. So I now need to be on a gluten-free diet to help manage the disease, which is a shame because gluten is my favorite food group. So there's a lot going on, but I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to set the scene for the place that I'm currently in as I start the next chapter of this journey. And I think that's important for many reasons. One of which is that if anyone is watching this thinking that they're not ready to start a health journey, or now that they have kids, it's going to be nearly impossible, or that their weight is just too out of control and it's too hard, I'm here to show you that we can do this. So for the last month and a half or so, I've been on a gluten-free diet and also on a really low dose of thyroid medication. My intention is to eventually be able to manage the Hashimoto's and thyroid issues through lifestyle and diet and not need that medication. But for now, I need the extra support. Anyway, when I removed gluten from my diet, I unintentionally filled the hole with processed food and sugar. But now I've had my fun with gluten-free treats and it is time to start nourishing myself again. Which brings us to now, to the start of my next chapter and losing about another 20 kilos and getting fitter than I've ever been. And also taking control of my mental health, specifically the anxiety, and also trying to live more slowly and intentionally and have more moments of feeling present and grateful. So basically the biggest all-round health challenge I've ever embarked on in my life, but I'm going to do it gradually and sustainably. I want to slowly build solid foundations for my physical and mental health that kind of permanently remodel how I live my life. I want my life to actually reflect my values of prioritizing health and happiness, so it's not something I'm constantly fighting for. I want this to be the last time I have to lose this much weight and regain this much basic fitness, and the last time I have to fight so hard to manage anxiety and intrusive thoughts. I just want to get to a good place and work to maintain it. Obviously, there'll be things that pop up in the future that impact fitness and weight, but that's life. I just don't want to be standing in front of the mirror in years to come thinking, wow, it's time to lose 20 kilos. again. So fine-tuning nutrition is step one for me. And at the moment that looks like maintaining the gluten-free diet and really cutting back on sugar, processed food and alcohol, as well as improving my water intake and taking my supplements. And that's not to say I'm never eating sugar or drinking wine again. Absolutely not, because that's not sustainable. And I'm all about sustainable, solid foundations now. I just need to cut back on them significantly. Also, slow movement each day, just some pram walks, even if it's just getting coffee or groceries. And also some exercises and stretches to help heal some injuries I have in my hand, wrist, thumb, I'm not really sure. One of those injuries is de Quervain syndrome, which is basically inflamed tendons through these parts of my thumbs. And it's incredibly annoying. So I'm seeing an osteo and I'm doing exercises and stretches to try and fix it, and hopefully it goes away. Eventually, I'd like to be doing yoga and Pilates and running and meditating and doing weights and living more gratefully and more presently and being more mindful. But we're starting small. So for now, step one of getting into the best shape of my life as a new mum is nourishing myself and slow, gentle movement. That's it. I have big, exciting health goals. And for me, having a baby is no longer a reason to put those goals on hold. And it's actually motivation to do the complete opposite and become the fittest and healthiest I've ever been. It's not going to be easy. If I struggled to lose weight and get fit before I had a baby, then it's going to be considerably more difficult now. But it's so important for me to set a good example of what a healthy lifestyle looks like for my little guy. So this is not just about me anymore, it's also for my family. I think it's also important to mention that whilst becoming a parent has definitely been the biggest honor of my life, it's not my entire life. I'm still me. I still have my goals and desires outside of parenting. And I truly believe that when I also focus on them, it makes me a better mum. So that's the goal I'm working towards, to become the fittest and healthiest I've ever been and to get into the best shape of my life. And I will be documenting the whole thing. So I definitely want to continue with these longer form videos, but I also want to include some more regular updates to show the week to week and even day to day parts of this journey. So I'll use YouTube Shorts and Instagram. I have been notoriously bad with Instagram so far, but my commitment to you is that I get better at that so I can provide more regular updates, because that's where the change really happens, in the small but consistent changes that we make. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching and for being here with me again, and I hope you'll hang around to see how this new chapter goes.